pass over to Sophia.
Cool. Thank you very much, Maddie, for the lovely introduction. Save me doing a plug about the Law Firm Marketing Club. Thank you ever so much, everyone, for joining today. I'm aware that it's half term. So yeah, we weren't expecting a big turnout. So it's great to see all of you. A bit of background about the Professional Services Marketing Survey. This is our 5th year of running the research, and we do ask the same questions year on year to assist law firms with benchmarking and having these all-important conversations about marketing. And judging by the poll answers, it seems like you guys are interested as well. So before I dive in, I have to acknowledge our 2025 sponsor, Tom Blandford from Sursum Advisory. I won't say too much about Tom, but I'll be sending the report afterwards, in which Tom has written an excellent article entitled, "Are Marketing Getting Their Fair Share of Budgets?" And I'm sure the marketers among us would say potentially not. So I'm looking forward to hearing your feedback on that. Wonderful article from Tom, and Tom's not with us today, but if he sees the recording, thank you very much, Tom. So diving straight in with who took part, I'm absolutely delighted that we had a record-breaking number of participants this year. So the research for 2025 included input from 126 law firms. It's a really big number. If you are connected with me on LinkedIn, you'll have seen the desperate measures I took, including turning up at law firms, waving a sign around outside as one of my campaigns to promote the survey. We also had responses from 4 accountancy firms, and hence it's entitled the Professional Services Marketing Survey. But we're keeping the focus solely on law firms for this year's report, as we felt that 4 accountancy firms wasn't quite enough data to create a clear picture of the accountancy space. So it's just for you guys working in law. So who took part? Heads of marketing and BD functions made up the largest group of respondents, accounting for around half, 46%. The marketing team also had a strong presence, contributing 31% of the responses. So that means that we're hearing directly from the people both strategizing in terms of marketing and executing those strategies every day, which is really reassuring. So it's likely that the data we have is really accurate. 3% of responses came from BD teams. 12% were managing partners or other senior partners. And then that 8% other bracket is everybody else. So from practice managers to agencies like Conscious, if they were filling out the survey on behalf of their clients, those with a dual role, etc. And then when we look at firm size by turnover, you can see the breakdown on the right-hand side of the screen. So there are a couple of key points to pull out here. So the 3 to 6 million turnover firms and 10 to 20 million segments were the biggest groups, each making up 24% of the sample. And what we've done in the report is we've consolidated the 20 million plus firms into one band in order to ensure that the findings are really robust due to the level of participation. So for those of you who didn't fill out the report and are curious to see what we asked, so in this research, we delve into the following areas. So we look at investments in marketing and business development by you guys, by law firms. We look at the size of marketing and BD teams. We look at the role of marketing and BD in strategic planning within law firms. We look at the extent and nature of outsourcing. And we look at how firms performed in 2024, so the previous year. We look at things like turnover, headcount, marketing budgets, team size, and then we do the same for the upcoming year as well. This year, we added a new question, which was inspired by the guys in the US, the Hinge University, and we talked about marketing maturity across key areas. So we asked firms their perceived level of marketing maturity and experience across areas like website, SEO, PPC, AI, automation, and CRM, to name a few. In the report itself, there's lots of commentary from both myself and Claire Fanner, who is the founder of the Law Firm Marketing Club. So my background, I'm a digital marketer with a decade of experience, and Claire has a number of decades experience working in the professional services space. So you've got a nice balance from both Claire and myself, with lots of comments and insights about what we perceive from the data. So this is the big one that everyone always likes to know about. What's everybody else spending on their marketing? Budgets are back to 3.1% of turnover. So in 2020, this is what firms were spending. And then along came COVID and swept the rug from under all of our feet. And by 2022, things had dipped to 2.6%. So it was an understandably cautious era where spending tightened across the board. But what is reassuring to see is this bounce back now. So it looks like we're resuming normality again. Maddie, I think there's someone in the waiting room who wants to come in. Thank you. But what's striking year after year is just how modest law firm marketing budgets continue to be. So even at 3.1% of turnover, it's still relatively conservative when you think about the role that we as marketers play in driving visibility, reputation, acquiring feedback, client acquisition. And if we take a look outside the professional services sector, marketing budgets tend to be much higher, and they sit at around, on average, 7%. And that's according to the growth survey that Hinge University have done this year, which is a great piece of research if you haven't looked at it already. But we all know that it doesn't particularly matter, because the firms that stand out aren't always the ones with the biggest budgets. They are the ones spending the smartest. So it's about being strategic with every pound you're spending and making sure your content, your campaigns, and your channels are all working hard, and that they're all working together in unison. So back to 3.1%, the headline figure. Then looking at team size. So we asked firms to answer how many people are in your teams, have they grown this year? And as you can see, the data is slightly skewed by the larger firms, with the team at 14.8%. Wouldn't that be so wonderful if all of our teams are that big? So the overall jump is significant this year, but as I've mentioned, it's heavily influenced by those larger firms, the 20 million plus turnover firms, where teams are averaging 14.8 people. Firms in the 10 to 20 million range also growing, with average team size up to 3.3 from 2.9 last year. So showing that firms of this size are investing in their marketing and BD functions internally. And then for the rest, it's broadly the same as last year. I'd be really interested to know if anyone on the call today has grown their team in the past 12 months. Do feel free to pop into the chat. I know that at Conscious, Maddie's just got a lovely new executive called Ellie, so we're growing our marketing team too.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I'm very excited to be in the stat where we've grown, because yeah, a second person in the team is going to be so helpful. And yeah, it's just great, isn't it, to have somebody else to share your ideas with and brainstorm with.
100%, definitely taking a few things off your list, Maddie. I know how busy you are all the time.
It's a luxury having a marketing exec.
So the next question we asked was, what involvement does your marketing and business development team have in your firm's strategic planning? I get a real bee in my bonnet about the findings for this one. So despite getting involved in planning, only 18% of firms say that marketing drives strategy in 2025. So most teams are kind of in the room, but they're not involved in those leading conversations. And in the report itself, which you will all be receiving, we do break this down by firm size. And I should have mentioned at the beginning, we do this throughout. So all the questions that we ask, we do pull data out and break it down by firm size, which will hopefully make the data more relevant to yourselves. And I'd be more than happy to answer any questions that you have via email if you want even more specific data, if I have it. So I can share with you that in small firms, 27% say that marketing drives strategy. And that probably comes down to less silos, less layers of decision-making, which is obviously understandable. Then your mid-sized firms are a complete mixed bag. So loads contribute up to 80% in the reports, but some still leave marketing out entirely from these conversations. And then the big guys, the 50 million plus firms, 100% say that marketing contribute, but 0 say that it drives. So there's still work to do, but it's not overly surprising, because I'm sure the headcount is massive and there's so many layers of decision making. But my view on it, if anyone's interested, is that the firms that bring marketing into strategy early and give them room to lead are the ones best placed to innovate, scale, and stay ahead, and in turn grow, which we'll come on to a bit later as we look at this data. So next question, do you use any consultants or retained agencies to support you with the delivery of marketing and BD services? So it seems that firms are generally speaking outsourcing slightly more than they were last year, with a couple of notable changes, which I'm going to touch on. I'm really excited by client feedback. So it's up to 34% from 31% last year. And while that sounds like a small increase, it is significant, because it's telling us that firms understand the importance of and are investing more in listening to their clients. So it's not just passing punches, it's proper structured feedback processes. And I released a podcast yesterday, shameless plug, sorry, Maddie, with our newest partner, Anna Lake from Client Talk, on this topic. And we are going to be doing a webinar later in the year all about client listening with Anna and Claire from Client Talk. The other areas that have seen increases in the outsourcing are not really a surprise. So they're the more niche areas, things like design, things like SEO. I mean, SEO was a right headache last year with all the changes that Google made. I'm not surprised to see that this is being outsourced more. Legal directory submissions, getting some support with strategy around those. So we know these are areas where in-house teams can only do so much, especially if you have a small team, and you guys rightly call on specialists to help you with elements of these areas. And then it's good to see that strategy continues to be predominantly handled in-house. However, is this a missed opportunity? Because sometimes bringing an outside perspective here can unlock some fresh thinking, especially for firms without a senior marketing lead calling the shots. So how did your firm perform in 2024? So 82% of firms saw an increase in turnover. So that's great news. And 73% boosted their tech investment. And this is supported by 55% increase in their headcount and 22% growing their marketing or business development teams. So not all firms grew equally in 2024. And there is a chart in the report breaking things down by firm size. But the trends are broadly consistent. So turnover and investment in technology both leading the way. So how was your marketing and BD expenditure split in 2024? There has been a bit of a reshuffle in terms of how firms are allocating their budgets, but it's nothing too dramatic. It's more of a rebalancing than a full-on strategy overhaul. So once again, digital marketing, you'll be pleased to hear that, Maddie, is leading the way. No surprises there. But what might be a surprise to you all is that the investment in digital has actually dropped from 23% last year to 17% this year. And that's quite a noticeable drop, I think. And it could be a sign that firms are starting to question the return on investment that they're getting, or they want to try new things, or investing more money into events, which is another trend that we're seeing as part of this survey. Then we can see CRM spending has also halved from 4% to 2%. I think that this shows that firms have already made investments in their CRM systems and they are yet to use them. So they haven't cracked how to fully use them yet. And that's an ongoing piece of work, which we all know is quite hard to get started, and getting that buy-in throughout the firm. And if you do need any advice on that, I know a fabulous man called Simon McNider who's got some great tips for you. Events, though, are making a real comeback, so up to 13% from 9%. And that's especially interesting given that events had dropped off the face of the earth the year before. So it looks like firms are rediscovering the value of face-to-face, whether that's networking, client hospitality, or showcasing thought leadership in real life. And I think that's really reassuring and lovely to see, especially after all of the Zoom and Teams calls we've been doing since COVID. It's nice to see people getting back out there and meeting in real life.
Yeah, definitely. I think we've seen that as well. October and November, I always thought were the busy periods in the legal sector, but June, we've got, I think, 13 events coming up in June this year, which I'm quite gobsmacked by, because June last year for us was so quiet. And I guess there were less events maybe in the industry going on. People are seeing the value of those face-to-face events now and being in the room with each other and, suppliers, other law firms and things like that. So yeah, we're going to be busy throughout June.
Yeah, it's lovely to see. And I think there's been a lot more buzz on LinkedIn. I don't know if anyone else has noticed that, a lot more pictures of events happening recently, which has been really lovely to see. So this next question is the maturity by channel question, which I mentioned is inspired or pinched from Hinge Marketing. So this chart on the screen, which looks a bit like a spider's web, is assessing the perceived level of marketing and BD development maturity across various channels, as I mentioned earlier. And I know that Claire and I are really looking forward to tracking this trend over the coming years. So website, SEO and social media have come through as being the most mature areas, with a decent number of firms rating themselves as either optimized or proactive, which suggests that firms are steadily investing in visibility and client-facing presence, which is encouraging to see, but not overly surprising. And these are obviously now well-established key areas for marketing investment and activity. But things start to look a little bit shakier when you move into the CRM, integration, automation, and AI space. So those optimized, really confident scores drop right off. with CRM and automation barely scraping 2% and AI not hitting the mark at all. But that said, there is movement in the right direction. I know that Maddie's done a session on AI with Georgia. When was that one, Maddie?
I think that was last month actually. So still quite fresh, quite relevant. I can send that to people if you're interested in, yeah, Georgia's top tips. She's been doing a lot of research into AI for law firms.
Perfect. Thanks, Maddie. So over half of firms say that they're in that emerging phase with AI, which makes sense. So there's curiosity about it. But let's be honest, AI and automation are the new kids on the block. We're still learning about those things. So it's unsurprising that we're waiting to understand those things before incorporating them into our marketing. And it's worth noting how so many firms still class CRM as either emerging or not applicable. This is a little bit of a marketer's red flag when it comes to measuring effectiveness and managing relationships and referrals. So progress is happening, but that more connected, data-driven element of marketing is still slightly lagging. So hopefully by next year, we'll see an uptick in the confidence by asking the same question again.
I'm quite interested by the website one as well. Sorry to butt in. And I don't want to offend anyone on the call, obviously, but I think websites, obviously, they're a big investment. I think, our new website went live, I think 2.5 years ago now, and I'm still very happy with it and things like that. But I do think sometimes websites can be something that, law firms just think it's doing the job, it's fine. So they think that maybe they've got the level that they need, but actually maybe the investment is important to kind of take them to the next steps, refresh the brand, maybe your demographics and audience has changed slightly and the current website doesn't really reflect that anymore. So it's good to see that people obviously think that they're doing it very well, which is great, but I would be interested to know how old people's websites are and things like that, because I think stuff changes so quickly and there's a lot of new guidelines coming out on accessibility and things like that, which I think is something that firms should be thinking about. We've got some blog posts to share in the next couple of weeks about the accessibility updates and things. But yeah, I think that's one for me that stood out as interesting.
Yeah, I mean, look, there's always room for improvement, isn't there, Maddie? But yeah, we will definitely send over the accessibility stuff in a follow-up email with the report. So make sure we do that, Maddie. Do give me a reminder. So the outlook for this year and beyond, fortunately, we don't need a crystal ball because everyone answered this question really honestly, which is fab. So how firms are planning to invest their marketing budgets in 2025. So digital is still leading the way, with 56% of firms planning to increase their digital advertising spend. So this tells us that firms are still betting on paid online visibility to cut through that noise and to reach the right people. Obviously, anything digital is easier to measure, so it's unsurprising. As we've mentioned, events are making a strong comeback too. So 46% are going to be upping their spend. And after years of screens and Zoom fatigue, the appetite for face-to-face is clearly back, which is really great to see. So good luck to anyone that has to make the lanyards and name badges. That's one of my least favorite jobs to do for an event. And then we've got websites and CRM systems. So they're getting a moderate amount of love. Around a third of firms are investing more here. But what's interesting is how many plan to leave these areas as is, with 54% flat on website spend and 40% holding steady on CRM. So it suggests that some firms may be in a good enough mode or possibly still recovering from their last system overhaul. And if that applies to you, we are always here to help at Conscious. BD budgets are the slow movers. 68% aren't touching them. Is that because people are doing the things that work for them and getting results? Be really interesting to open up that conversation. Only 27% are going to be investing more in BD. And that's surprising to me, given how critical BD is to growth and meeting new people and creating new clients. So it might be a signal of confusion around where BD fits now, or just taking a leaner approach with more focus on personal networks and relationship-led work. So I'd be really interested to hear if anyone's got any thoughts on that once we finish with the slides. And then as for non-digital profile building, so print, PR, speaking slots, and sponsorships, they're on the back foot. So most firms are leaving budgets unchanged or actually cutting back. And the same goes for third-party consultancy. So really interesting. So predictions for 2025 in terms of turnover, technology, headcount, marketing budget, and size of team. I'm happy to say that it seems law firms are gearing up for a really big year, and it looks like they're feeling pretty optimistic. 87% expect their turnover to go up, and 70% are planning to pump more money into tech and bring more people in. So that's some serious confidence and enthusiasm, which we love to see. Be interested to know your thoughts on this. Is it about working smarter, not harder? Because we can see that 87% are expecting more revenue, but only 69% are increasing their headcount. So is it a case of relying more on technology to get that work done? That would be an interesting one to discuss. So opportunities for 2025, we've pulled out kind of the top ones from the survey, but we got loads of fantastic responses about the respondents' views on what the biggest opportunities are. So I'm not going to read all the text off the screen, but AI and automation, there's clear appetite for it. I know that whenever we deliver sessions or training on AI, they're always really well attended. I can't obviously talk about what we discuss in the Law Firm Marketing Club because we do our meetings under the Chatham House rule. However, it's a topic that comes up an awful lot, and looking how we can really use AI to help work for us. Number two, CRM implementation and utilization, another really important topic. You know, it's such a helpful thing when everyone's using it in the same way. And I know that at Conscious, Maddie and I, we both use Suite CRM and we both live and breathe by it. I don't know what we would do without it. And it's so useful for tracking conversations, relationships, making sure that we're all singing from the same hymn sheet and we all use it religiously. And by God, what a useful tool to have. Then SEO, website optimization, digital, no surprises to see these guys featuring. It's obviously widely understood that digital presents opportunities to reach that wider audience, and all of these things can be measured, so it's a sensible activity. Video marketing was mentioned multiple times as a valuable marketing tool, and we're increasingly seeing firms utilize video content to engage clients. Interesting because we haven't sort of focused in on whether this means self-generated, kind of more personal brand style content or more official corporate content, but nonetheless an opportunity that was highlighted by those that responded. Then we've got branding and rebranding, reassuring to see that firms recognise the importance of having a strong and clearly defined brand. We did a session with Jim Walton from Ascend Studio very recently for the members of the Law Firm Marketing Club. And if you would like to see the recording, feel free to join, which was all about how to strengthen your external position and improve your market perception. I won't read the rest of the screen, I'll leave that to you, but some really exciting opportunities there, and good to see social media still making the cut. And then we've got the challenges for the year ahead. No surprises that CRM and AI, kind of the other side of the coin, are appearing as top challenges. You know, lots of potential, really hard to get people to use them properly, which is why it's important to have clear guidelines and training on an ongoing basis, and especially for new starters, so they know what they're doing. And then team bandwidth. I mean, we've got so much work, all these campaigns that we want to do, all of these aspirations. But if we've only got sort of a solo marketer to deliver all of it, we have to be realistic about what's achievable and what's not, and prioritize those activities. And the same with budget constraints. You know, we've got all of these ideas, but if we haven't got enough in the pot, we're going to have to prioritize. Then we've got some other challenges. So internal engagement, getting everyone on the same page is tough. Keeping teams in sync, boosting that buy-in, and making sure that everyone's pulling in the same direction. Data privacy and compliance, always going to be a challenge. So much sensitive information flying around, making sure that we're keeping data secure and ticking all of the legal boxes is obviously a complete non-negotiable. Retention of talent, holding on to talent isn't necessarily easy. It's got to be a balancing act of having a great culture, opportunity for career growth, good pay, and obviously the culture being the bit that people want to stick around for. So what can we do as marketing to help encourage that retention piece? And then market conditions, obviously with Trump at the moment, things are looking slightly volatile. We'll see if the survey findings are any different next year, but the market is always shifting and law firms do need to stay nimble. So we've got to be strategic, ensure we're planning in a savvy way and keeping a sharp eye on what the competition and other macro factors are up to. And then last but not least is measuring return on investment. A lot of the activity that we do as marketing and BD teams, it's not always easily and tangibly measured. Doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing it. So how can we demonstrate the ROI of all of our activity, not just the things that it's easy to crunch the numbers on, and show the value behind every penny spent? So feel like I've got a frog in my throat. I'm losing my voice now. Thank you very much for listening to me. Those are the highlights from this year's survey. I will be delighted to share it with you. And later this year, I would be doing us a disservice if I didn't mention we're also going to be doing our What Clients Want research. So last year we surveyed 650 potential clients of legal services from all over the United Kingdom across a range of services, demographics, and we asked them exactly what they want, need, and expect from their chosen law firm. And we put together an 80-page report, which goes out to our members. So if you're interested in finding out more, please do get in touch with me. And I'm going to hand back to Maddie.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Sophia. Hopefully those results are possibly reassuring to you if you're, spending that same amount on your marketing budget, or maybe you're spending slightly less and it gives you some opportunities to ask your partners for some more money. But yeah, maybe the challenge is, other law firms are facing them, so you don't have to think you're the only person in that situation at the moment, and that other people are seeing those challenges and also opportunities as well. And hopefully the opportunities will give you some motivation to maybe try something new, whether it is the SEO or the video marketing, or really getting in touch with your CRM system and making it work the best it can for your firm. I am going to